After a wild Wednesday night of playoff scrambling, the Heat, who blew a 26-point lead in a loss to Boston, still wound up third in the East. They're set to meet the new offensive-minded Hornets in round one. Game one is Sunday at 5:30 Eastern Time on TNT. 2 years ago, Miami swept Charlotte in the first round, but a bunch of things have changed since then. Joe Johnson's in South Florida for one, and the Hornets can now really score. After their winningest season in 16 years, they'll try to break their 10-game postseason losing streak. For more on the Heat, Ethan Skolnick of the Miami Herald joins us now. And Ethan, the Heat went 19-10 without Chris Bosh after he left the rotation due to more issues with blood clots. And the team has been pretty quiet about his prognosis. Is there any chance we'll see Bosh in the postseason?
In the postseason, there might be a chance down the line, although I would not anticipate it. I don't think there's any chance for the first round. I mean, he's been around the team at home. He hasn't flown. The reason that the Heat hasn't given much information is because they've been deferring to him on this. And trust me, they've wanted to give more information than they have. And he did put out a statement, I guess it's almost a month ago now, where he said he was doing okay and basically that he didn't have a life-threatening condition at this time. But everything that I've heard is that even if he got someone to clear him this season, the Heat wouldn't necessarily clear him. And the other thing is that people like Dwayne Wade, who is the one who knows him the best on this team, has the most information. He keeps talking about Chris in terms of his playing for this season in the past tense. So I just don't anticipate Chris is going to be playing this year. Also looks very thin when I've seen him on the sidelines. I think it would take him some time just to get back to basketball shape.
And in the meantime, Miami's played a much different and more up-tempo style. How flexible are they for a playoff run?
Well, I think they can play both ways. They want to play with pace. They want to play to Goran Dragic's pace. He's been much better in the second half of the season. I actually think that he may be the most important player for the Heat in their first-round series against Charlotte. Obviously, he's going to have to contain Kemba Walker, but he's also going to have to make Kemba Walker work on the other end. The thing about Goran Dragic is he's only played in the postseason one time, 2010. He was Steve Nash's backup. I think a lot of people remember him scoring 23 points in a fourth quarter to beat the Spurs. But that's 6 years ago, and he doesn't have any playoff experience as a starter. He's going to be critical to them, but they need to play to his pace. They can close with Dwayne Wade and Joe Johnson, but the first three quarters, I think they really need to press the tempo, and that is what Dragic does best.
Should be interesting. Ethan Skolnick with us from the Miami Herald. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, fellas, the Heat have great closers, as Ethan mentioned, in Wade and Johnson at the end of games. But with this little faster pace they've played without Chris Bosh, Goran Dragic has really benefited. It's much more compatible to the way he plays. Just how important will he be in the postseason?
He's very important. But the thing I like about Goran, he's tough. He keeps on attacking. He struggled early. Now the court is open for him. Now he can attack the basket. If Miami can rebound the ball well enough in the defensive glass, get out in the open court with Dragic pushing it, with Wade, Joe Johnson, Luol Deng, the spacing's much better and the penetration lanes are better, and that's where Dragic can be aggressive and attack the rim and open things up for his teammates.
I totally agree with Vinny. And I look at the Charlotte's team, they play small, so if you're Dragic the way he's attacked, he's not really afraid of anybody on the other side of him really blocking shots for him. Key for him is going to be obviously Kemba Walker, keeping him out of the paint. But I think he's going to be pretty good with the addition of Joe Johnson. Why? You have another guy that in half court, you can run the basketball through Joe Johnson. He can play off of it. But for him, it's going to be in transition, early offense, trying to get those guys in foul trouble and getting easy baskets for himself and the Miami Heat.
Yeah, it's interesting because of Wade primarily. You think of the Heat as an experienced playoff team. That's not the case with this current cast of characters. Dragic has only been there one time. They're now playing rookies, Justice Winslow, Josh Richardson, Hassan Whiteside. All these guys, it's the first time around for these guys.
It is, and I think those guys, 1 through 3 quarters, are going to be huge. But I like the veterans they have finishing games. I love Joe Johnson and Dwayne Wade having the basketball with Luol Deng making plays at the end.
Bottom line is Wade's been there, done that. Joe Johnson's a veteran. They're going to help those guys with a little bit that don't have the experience. But at the end of the day, Miami needs to play their style, what makes them most effective, and Dragic will be a big piece of that.
Whether it's Charlotte or somebody else down the line, what's going to bother the Heat?
Size and rebounding. I think if teams beat them up inside with the rebounding and keep them out of the open court, you can switch a lot of their pick and rolls, but like Smitty said, Joe Johnson and Wade can take games over. other guys are going to have to step up for them. They have to control their glass. They have to get out in the open court to put enough points on the board, because in the half court, isolation for Wade and Joe Johnson is good, but if they're missing, it could be stress on the other end for them.
Vinny said it best, size. And you look at Whiteside, he's huge.
Right.
After Whiteside, because there's no Chris Bosh, they get a little bit smaller. Right. You have to lean on the old wily vet, and Haslam has to come in, Udonis, because they don't really have any size coming off the bench. They also lost Birdman.
We'll talk about Al Jefferson here in a moment, what kind of a factor he could be in that series. But throughout our playoff previews, we'll present each team's best lineup based on net ratings, their efficient five, which in Miami's case includes Dwayne Wade, Josh Richardson, Joe Johnson, Justice Winslow, and Hassan Whiteside. Interesting group, including a couple of rookies there. Vinny has more on Johnson's impact in Miami.
One of the great acquisitions this year has been Joe Johnson to the Miami Heat, not only because of his versatility, but the spacing that he gives the Heat for Dwayne Wade and especially Goran Dragic. You watch here, Miami will play 4 smalls and 1 rim protector in Whiteside. What do they have? They have spacing in the corner. Joe Johnson and Luol Deng right here. Guess what it does? It opens up penetration lanes for Dwayne Wade, and guess what happens? Joe Johnson will get a wide open corner 3. Easy money for Joe. Perfect shot, perfect result for the Miami Heat. Again, you have a fast break here. You're getting what? You're getting your smalls to the corner. Joe Johnson and guess what? Dwayne Wade get into the corner. What does it do? Spacing. Now what do you have? You have pick and roll coming here for Dragic. What is he going to do? He's going to turn the corner. Big's going to dive. And then what's going to happen? Joe Johnson is going to either get a wide open 3, here a great baseline cut. LeBron's not ready, doesn't want to rotate. So Joe Johnson's ability to space the court gives the defense problems, and it opens up the court tremendously for Dragic and Wade. The penetration lanes get bigger, the 3-point shots are more effective, and the Miami Heat are more successful with their spacing.